You know, it's a very sad time in a country or a state when you arrive at the position where people speak their free mind and use their freedom of speech to express their opinions or express their hurt, and they're called right wing, or they're called racists. It's quite a tough time. You've got a government, in my opinion, that is really taking advantage of the people, and they're not ashamed to do so publicly, right? In the sense of, you've got government that are spending hundreds of thousands on silly things. Like, I think it was over 300,000 was spent on bike racks for Leinster House, where the people, and there's many Irish families that are struggling to make ends meet. The best way to put it, there's many Irish families that don't even have a pot to piss in. See, the problem within this country right now, and why I empathise with the Irish people, because, I've spent a lot of time in this country, and I've also spent a lot of time in the Irish community, right? Not just from a high level of colleagues that you see from a distance or whatever. No, really be embedded within the culture. And I have many Irish friends. I have great friends. I work with Irish people, from a business perspective, from a career perspective, and from a personal relationship perspective. And when you have conversations with Irish people and you sit down and you listen to some of their concerns and some of the pains and why they're so disgruntled, it comes at a consequence of they're in a position where the working class is being oppressed, the working class is being taken advantage of, and that's something that's happened for a long time. It's almost as if the government really hate the working class, and the working class are left with minimal resources that they have to fight for. But in the midst of that minimal resources, there's a lack of financial resources being allocated to them. Like, Irish people cannot afford housing in their own country right now. It's practically unaffordable for an average family in Ireland to be able to afford a house. Young kids growing up now in Ireland and going to work and etc., they're not going to be able to afford a house for many, many years. And on top of that, you have to be on a really, really high income job to be able to afford housing in your own home soil. Not everybody has a high income job, and there's not high income jobs available for everybody. And there are many people that will not get employed, unfortunately. That is the reality of Irish people. To be in a position where they can afford housing in a couple of years, to be able to have enough to even save up for a deposit. Far from that, you've got Irish mothers that are in a position where their children are sick or they're sick themselves. Their children, even, to give you an example, Irish mothers that have children that have autism, that are suffering with autism. They're in a position where sometimes it's practically impossible to even get your child in a position where they're able to get an assessment. And then on top of that, find schooling for your children, or somewhere where they can be taken care of to help them with their speech, to help them with their education, to help them manage that. It's difficult. And if you've ever had family members, or you've lived in a house, or you come from a family where autism is present, you will know the difficulty of dealing with children that have autism, the struggle that it comes with, not only just from the physical, but the emotional, the mental, and the depression that you can go through as a consequence of watching your child be in difficulty, not being able to express themselves when they're in pain. These are the realities that Irish people are facing. These are the realities that Irish mothers are facing. Some are in a position where they're in emergency accommodation, and with the emergency accommodation, it's not a house, it's not a proper housing that you're in, So the luxuries of having a place to cook, having your own place to clean, your children having a place to store their toys, that's not there. So the reality that many people are facing right now in this country is very difficult, and it's hard. And that's why the Irish people are very much upset and disgruntled, and as rightfully so. And it's difficult that when they try to voice their opinions in the right way, the government is labelling them, and the mainstream media is labelling them as right-wing, racist, anti-immigrants, where that is not the case. It is people that are being misrepresented, they're being mistreated, they're being taken advantage of. And that's why when I speak on my platform, I say to people, and I say to Irish people, stop voting, right? The best thing you guys can do right now is stop voting. Don't vote, because how many politicians have come and gone and said they're going to do X, Y, and Z? They're going to be the change. They're going to be the face of change for you. How many have actually made the change that is required? Look at the state the country is in. This decline has been coming for a long, long time. And many different political parties, they're all... The way I look at the political scheme is, we go there and we put on a show for everybody. We say I'm on this side and I'm against this side. And we argue back and forth for live television. We go to the Dáil and we have our arguments. Straight after that, we're all in the same pubs together drinking. Straight after that, we're all messaging each other and having banter while our pockets are getting fatter, while we're owning housing, while we're selling our housing off to the EU and all of these different contracts and making a lot of money. The average Irish family is struggling. The working class is being oppressed. The working class is being squeezed for everything that they have and then left to fight for minimal resources. That is why I support and I empathise with everything that's going on within this country, and that it's unfair treatment to Irish people. In your own home country, it is the right of any citizen to be prioritised within their home country. It is the right of any citizen to ask to be looked after and to be taken care of first. And that's not the situation now in this country, where Irish people are watching other people come into the country and get higher priority than they do, get housing quicker than they're getting housing, get accommodation quicker than they're getting it, get resources in terms of financial support higher than Irish people themselves. And as a working class, when you go to work and you've paid your taxes for so many years and you've slaved away for this country, it makes it that much more difficult. And one thing people need to understand about what it means to be Irish, and being Irish is not just a piece of paper, or it's not just being born in this country. It's far more than that. Being Irish is a rich and inherited culture for Irish people, a culture that we fought through oppression, we've overcome difficulties, we've overcome being treated less than, and that's something that as a black person I can relate to, very much so. And the Irish history and what it means to be Irish is a love for your community, a love for your fellow Irishmen, and a respect for your fellow Irishmen, and a true and deep appreciation for your culture. And that is at risk right now with the way the current government is running things. Their history, their culture, the education, the landscape is changing, and it's changing rapidly. And that is very much something that is unfair in any country. Most people that leave their home country to come to Ireland or to go to other countries is because you're looking for a better life, because your government isn't providing you with that. Your country that you're from isn't providing you with that. Now the Irish people are facing a similar situation, except they don't want to run to other countries right now, not the majority of them. They want to stay and fight for their country. They want to fight for the rights of their country, that things can be better. They can be treated better. The government can stop wasting public funds or wasting the taxpayers' money on useless things such as bike racks that cost over €300,000, and put that towards bringing back resources that's going to help these families, bringing back resources that's going to help when it comes to mental health, bringing back resources that's going to help when it comes to housing being able to affordable. The rent situation is out of control. How is it that you're allowed to hike up these rents so much within this country, that it's been allowed, but what people are earning hasn't increased? The average working class is still struggling. It's not every day that they're getting salary increases. It's not every year that they're getting high-end salary increases. That doesn't happen. And the high-end jobs, they're very limited. And most of them aren't being, you can't give them essentially to a group of people, but most of them are not being allocated towards the Irish. So within their country, they're actually far worse off than they've ever been in the history of this country, in my opinion, with everything that has taken place right now. That's a huge injustice, and it's quite unfair. When you speak, you're labelled as far-wing, right, or racist for the Irish people when they voice their opinions the right way. And that is why the opinions sometimes are being voiced in the incorrect manner. But I think, there has to be unity from everybody. And people that have come into this country, you've benefited from this country, and you've been supported by this country. You've been supported by the Irish people. You should also support their fight right now. In my opinion, it's only the right thing to do. The moral thing to do is to support Irish people and rise up and ask for accountability to their government to be able to treat them fairly and do right by its people. Because watching a group of people watching a nation be destroyed by its own is difficult. It's a hard thing to watch. It's not nice.